much the same. Unfortunately, Jen is feeling a little under the weather this morning, so I am jumping in. I'm Alexis. I'm a creative designer at Sizzix. I actually made the projects that we're going to be doing today, so you are in good hands, I promise. Just to kind of get everyone kind of familiar with how we work as a team. I'm going to be in here teaching you, but I have some very helpful people that will be in the comments and reading things for me so I can interact with you guys. I am so happy to see everyone. Yay! Hi! So I have Taylor and Gazan who are in our sales team, and they will be in the comments with you guys. So if you have any sales questions, please feel free to ask. They'll be happy to answer. You also have your Notions reps, which will be here, so they will be interacting as well. And then to help me, I have Lindsay. So last year I helped Jen in the background. So if she dropped anything or we ran out of something, I was helping her. So I've got Lindsay helping me with that. So if you have any questions about the design stuff, if you need me to slow down, if you need me to repeat something, please just shout it out. Lindsay will let me know, and I will be happy to repeat anything for you and slow down for you. This is going to be a fun workshop. I'm really excited to share our chapter 1 dies with you guys and to just be creating with people again. I feel like this last year we haven't been able to, so it's going to be a lot of fun to interact with everyone. I also want to know where you're all from. I know last year we had people from Australia and Canada, so please pop in the comments where you're tuning in from, what time it is. And I also have a little birdie told me we have a birthday in this group today. So Brooke at Urban Paper Crafter, I hear it's your birthday, so I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and I hope everyone will wish you a happy birthday as well. So I'm going to transition this into the overhead so we can start working on these projects. I'm going to go through what supplies you need to gather. Again, I know that you guys have been taking a lot of workshops, so I'm sure that there's been a ton of information thrown at you. Don't worry, I got you. We will go through all this again. I am going to put this into the overhead so that I can get in there, but if at any point you have issues with the sound, if there's feedback, if the picture goes out, please just let us know in the comments and we will try to rectify it as quickly as we can. Okay, I see Tasmania and Canada and British Columbia. Nice, I love it, you guys. Okay, well, I'm gonna flip this around real quick. Okay, let me know if everything sounds good, just because we've had issues before, so I wanna make sure everything sounds good now that we're in the overhead. Okay. So I have to wear a mask while I'm at the office when I have the doors open. So if you have any issues hearing me okay, just let me know so that I can close the door and then I'll take my mask off if that's an issue. I'm just getting my cords all situated. So the first project we're going to work on is this Jar of Flowers shaker dome. So I'm going to remind you real quick what supplies you need for this one. This is the kit that you will be pulling out. I've already pulled out the embossing thing, but this is the kit that you'll need to pull out. You're also going to need foam tape for this one, or any kind of equivalent that you might have it handy. You're going to need some kind of a liquid adhesive. I'm using our Express glue today. You're going to need a paper sculpting kit or any kind of stylus tools that you might have. We have provided you with our new rose gold luster wax, so you're going to want to pull that out of your kit as well. You're going to need a white gel pen or white pen. Some kind of a craft mat, because we're going to be doing some inking. So you're going to want to have a blending tool. I'm using our multi-tool with the blending head, but if you have anything similar, that'll work. We also asked you guys to grab a blue and a brown ink. So I'm using Tumbled Glass and Vintage Photo if you have these at handy. You're also going to need a pair of tweezers, whether they're a curved fine tip or a reverse action like this one, whatever is handy for you. I have some Post-it notes or a spare piece of paper. Because we're working with luster wax and you're going to want to clean off your hands, I would suggest having either something to wipe your hands off on, baby wipes, alcohol wipes, anything like that nearby. Pair of scissors, which is in the paper sculpting kit if you have the paper sculpting kit. And I think that is it. I'm just double checking my list, making sure I covered it all. And it looks like we did. So we are good to go. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the dies that we're going to be using today. So like I said, we just had our chapter 1 release. Lots of spring icons, birthday, everyday kind of stuff that you would normally find. And so I'm going to show you the die sets that we are using today. The first one up is our jar of flowers. This is actually our number 1 release for chapter 1 so far, and it's probably actually my favorite release in the collection for our chapter 1 release. So it comes with, I'm actually going to pull it out because I brought these in with me. You get the actual jar shaker dome that comes with your kits. These come in a 6-pack. These are our new domes, dimensional domes that go alongside our other domes. We have the star, the tree. So we actually try to create at least one die set that goes along with it each release. But then we also have released just the framelit and the thinlit jar separately as a separate SKU if you're interested in that. But these are the flowers and things that we'll be using if you get the jar of flowers die set. It's great because it actually can create 2 different jars. So you can get one that has this really cute little wreath above it, or you can actually make it look like a flower jar. But what I like is that you can make it 1-dimensional, or you can add in the dimensional dome and make it 3-dimensional. And I'll go over some different ways that you can actually use the jars throughout the year. And if you have any questions about any of the other jars we have, just let me know and I'm happy to talk about them. We are also going to be using our assorted cardstock. This is a great value. It's 80 sheets of 20 different colors. You get 4 of each. And we have quite a few different cardstock packs out now. We have our neutral, we have our festive, we have also all our opulence, which I'll get into later because we use our opulence on the second project. And then, like I said, we are going to be using some of our new effects. And the one we are going to be using today, let me open it up, is our rose gold luster wax. So we came out with 3 different luster waxes. There's gold, silver, and rose gold. These are amazing. They're beeswax, and they have a really nice orange scent to them, so they're not that super metallic scent that you normally see. And they come in, these aren't the actual jars. We gave you guys samples, so the jars look a little different when they come retail-wise, but they are so smooth and creamy. They're really blendable, and you'll see as we get going, you can actually build the color up really well. So that's actually the first thing we're going to work with. I love citrus smells too, Cheryl. It's the best. We're going to start with actually getting out this piece right here. So this is the Intertwine embossing folder from Tim. We have embossed our lavender dust cardstock right here. I don't know about you guys, but I love 3D embossing because you can ink it, whether it's with distress inks, distress oxide, and now we have the option of adding on luster waxes. They just add such a nice metallic look to it. So I'm just going to grab a sheet of paper real quick to do this on top of, because it can get a little messy. Now, if you don't like luster wax on your fingers, you can use a glove, a Q-tip, whatever makes you happy. I am okay putting it on because I know I'm going to wipe it off with baby wipes, and also you don't want to get the rest of your project dirty. So if you're going to be doing this in length of time, I would say having a glove on is great because then no mess. But one thing that Pete Hughes has taught me is that when you go to initially apply luster wax, it can be almost like a big glob. Like when you're using distress ink, you obviously first put your ink on your foam pad and then you dab it off and then you apply it. It's the same kind of concept with luster wax. You don't want to take like a big glob of this and then just go straight to it. You want to smooth it out on a spare piece of paper or something that you're getting a nice even effect. And it is buildable. So you don't need to necessarily go in heavy-handed first. Some people will want to do lighter effects. Some people will want to go in and go heavy. It's really personal choice, but you'll see it's really smooth and creamy. So you're just going to want to take that and apply it like this so you get it more of a smooth blend on your finger. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up the edges because this middle part is going to be covered. If you want to cover the whole panel, go for it. I have fun, but I'm just going to start with the outside edge. And I'm just going to lightly go in, and like I said, it's buildable, so I'm just going to go in at first with just a very light touch and then keep adding up on top of it. I see someone says, I love the smell of the wax. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. I know I've used other stuff in the past where the fumes are just so strong that you can't use it for very long. I loved that citrus smell when you open it up. I grew up in Orange County, and you used to have like all the citrus trees near the freeway when you would drive by. So I have like a really fond memory of orange smells. So as you can see, I'm starting to go back over where I've already built up, just because I'm going to go a little heavier handed in some areas because I really want that pattern to show through. The nice thing with luster waxes is a little bit goes a long way. So even just this one pot will last you a very long time. I was doing swatches the other day, and the swatches, I barely touched it, and I was able to do like 125 swatches easily. So these are great with 3D embossing, but they're also great just on die cuts. We have, so if you, especially with black cardstock, if you've got some black cardstock and you add some luster wax to it, it really just adds this amazing effect. I'm trying to get this up on my computer so I can see what I'm doing versus the overhead. Let me just do this without sound. There we go. Okay. This way I can see what you guys are seeing too. Okay, and I'm just gonna go, like I said, I'm leaving that center part open on mine just because I know it's gonna be covered by a panel. But I'm happy with where that's at. One thing I will say is I do like to go in along the edges and just add a nice fine line along the edge. I just think it adds a really nice, clean effect. So I'm just gonna go through and do that real quick. And then we'll set this aside to kind of dry a little bit and let the wax settle in. You can heat set, I sometimes will like put a paste or something over it just to kind of hold it in, but you don't have to. This is really great on home decor stuff. I see a lot of people use luster waxes to embellish and antique things. So it's not just for paper crafting. You can also use it on home decor if you have people that are interested in home decor. And I'm just gonna grab a baby wipe and get this off of my fingers because I don't wanna get it on the next step, which is inking. I'm so glad I'm seeing the comments where you guys love this. It's amazing. We're really excited to share our effects range. You guys are actually, fun fact, you guys are actually the first people to get to work with any of this product. We have not had any other workshops this year, and no one else has seen this stuff yet. We got it special brought in just for this workshop. And so you guys are the first ones to get it. Okay, so I'm gonna put this aside, just off here at the top. The next thing you wanna grab, you have it from your kit, and I'll wait. I know some of you might still be using it, but if you are ready to start pulling, go ahead and pull out this little white panel right here, and then the white, it doesn't wanna come off the white jar right here. You're also gonna wanna grab your 2 inks. So I've got Tumbled Glass and Vintage Photo, but any blue or brown will work. Okay, just gonna grab my blending tools. Something I like having on handy, just a fun tip, is I actually have a couple of these because I don't like to change out these heads as often. So when I'm working on a project, I actually have like 4 of these at home so that I can just put all 4 blends on. Or what you could do if you wanted to just have one, you could buy extra blending tool heads and then just have those handy. They really are very ergonomic. I really like blending with these. So if you have a craft mat, go ahead and grab a craft mat, or you can even use what you just use spare paper wise, which I'm going to do. So I saw someone had asked if these will dry out. Typically when you add in the orange oil, that actually prevents it from drying out. So they should last a little while. I will always recommend that you keep the lid on tight and keep these stored somewhere cool instead of in like really hot. Well, I guess not cool, but just don't put it like directly in the sun because I'm sure that doesn't help with it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of take this white panel and distress it a little bit. So I'm going to pull in the project so you can see. I wanted to have kind of a distressed, kind of warm feel to go along with the rose gold. So I took a light brown ink and we just are going to gently just do the edges. We're going to leave the white, the center white. So you'll just go in a circular motion and add brown to the edge of this white panel. And then I wanted the dome to appear like it had water in it. So this little guy right here is going to get a nice blend of blue ink, and that is where the water effect will come from. I'm sure most of you are pros with blending, but I will still go slow here in case we've got any newbies or someone who hasn't done it in a while, because I know even though I've been crafting at home, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's been a few weeks since I've done anything because of the holidays, so I'm just going to get my ink on my foam pad real quick. Okay, so then I'm just going to go in from the outside edge and start blending in my color. You can go in as light or dark as you want. I like my stuff to really stand out, so I'm going in a little bit dark. But if you're someone that prefers a lighter blend, please, this is your area to get fun and have creative. If you don't even want to add ink, you don't have to. Kind of while I'm doing this, I'm trying to take a look at some of the comments and see if there's anything you guys have. If there's any questions that we don't get to while we're on the live, I will be sure to go back and make sure I get everything answered for you. So don't worry if we don't get to it during the live. I promise I'll get back to them at the tail end. Going to go in and do a little bit darker in some of the areas. Does anyone else watch movies while they're crafting? Because when I was making this, I can actually remember which movie I was watching while I was making this project. All of a sudden, I just got a flashback of I think I was watching like Call of the Wild or something, like set in Alaska. All of a sudden, I just got these wolf dogs stuck in my head. Am I the weird one? Okay, so that's good for that one. I think it was like White Fang or like Call of the Wild. It was some kind of Alaskan, like set in Alaska in the frontier when they were like searching for gold. But I just like having stuff on in the background. I've watched a lot of Disney movies lately. Oh good, I'm not the only one. I love this. So I just saw there's a question someone had about how long it takes for the luster wax to dry on paper versus wood. So it might be a little longer on wood. It depends on how porous it is or if it was like already stained. But paper being more absorbent, it would obviously dry more quickly. I would just research. I know that there are certain types of wood that obviously have stains and things like that. I don't know how well it would saturate into something like that. But definitely paper is obviously going to absorb really quick because it's an open porous type of thing. So I would just start with that and then research the type of wood that you're doing. If it's something that's like a natural wood, I feel like it would actually hold really well on that. Thanks for your questions, guys. I'm excited to share the new product. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the little jar dome. One thing I like to do with this one is build up my color so that it looks like it might be darker in certain areas than others. I'll move this over just a little bit so I get a cleaner area. Ooh, I see someone's talking about The Mandalorian. I have not finished season 1. I'm really liking it though. That's been one I've had on lately too. If it's shaking too much, let me know, because I've got my overhead cam on and it doesn't appear like it is, but if it is, just let me know. Okay. Also, if you hear yelling from the other room, don't be afraid. It's just Lindsay yelling at me. She's in the other room helping me. She's been bringing in your guys' questions on a piece of paper written down so I can comment on them. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit more down here because I want it to appear a little bit darker. And then that is it for our inking, so we can set that aside too. We'll come back to this in a little bit. I want to get through all of the paper sculpting for the flowers because that can be a little time consuming, and it's actually the part of this project that probably will take the longest. So don't worry, I'm just gonna pause here a little bit, but if you are ready, go ahead and carefully, because there's lots of light, tiny pieces in these kits, carefully dump out your kits and we'll separate things out real quick. So whenever I am teaching a workshop, I go a little bit over the top with what we're creating, just because I want to give you a sense of, like, if you've got more advanced crafters in your shops, that's something that they can go to, but then also I like to show something where you can tailor it back a little bit too, so that you're not overwhelmed for beginners. So I've gone over the top. Obviously, like, this card would normally take forever to make for one person in a workshop. So if you don't want to put all these flowers on today, you absolutely don't have to. But I'm going to teach you how to do all of them. And then if you decide to just put like 4 or 5 on instead of, I think there's like 8 or 9 here, that's totally up to you. But I like to just show you possibilities, essentially. So I'm going to grab my paper sculpting tools. Ooh, I like the idea of a coffee filter. That's a good idea. Keeps everything in a little... I don't drink coffee. That's probably why I don't have them. I might have to buy them just for crafting now. So you're going to take away your jar dome, your label, the heart. We aren't going to use the stems at this moment, so there should be 5 stems in each of your kits. Also, if you're missing anything from your kits, please just let us know in the comments, and we can try to ship something out to you, okay? So what I like to do when I'm working with this is I'm going to pile everything up by flower shape and color, just so that when I'm talking through things, you guys will know. So right now, just as a reminder, in case anyone's catching up, you're going to want to grab all the flowers from your kit, your paper sculpting tools, so a molding mat if you have one, different stylus heads is good, And then also the white gel pen, because we're gonna add some detailing onto some of these. So I'm just gonna get everything organized real quick. You guys are lucky. I'm not putting this in rainbow order. I put everything in rainbow order because I'm super OCD about that kind of stuff, but I'm just trying to not do that today. Okay, so I've got my little piles of everything. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take the flowers that have the embossing on them. These are the things that we have done from the Crescent Floral Moon die set. So these have a really pretty emboss on them, which I'm just going to hold up so you can see at a more close angle. Hopefully that it shows. And we're going to add white detailing onto the embossed parts. So if you're familiar with gel pens, sometimes they need a little bit of love to get them going. So I'm just going to pull out a piece of paper and put it on the side. So you're literally just going to go in with the white gel pen and just follow this emboss lines on the 4 orange flowers. You can also ink these if you wanted to. I kind of go back and forth between florals because florals are my absolute favorite thing to work with. If I could just work with flower dyes all day long, I think I'd be the happiest person in the world. But I know not everyone likes flowers. So I mix it up as much as I can to appease everybody and make everyone happy. But I think there's a lot of different ways that you can make flower die cuts just look more fun. White gel pen accents, distress inks, making paper sculpting them so they look more realistic. Sometimes I like to keep things just clean, and that's what I went with this because I feel like spring is one of the few kind of seasons where everything feels fresh and new. And so that's why I went with more of a clean look on these instead of adding inks. If you want to, it's optional at the end. If you wanted to create more of a distressed look, you could add some more of the luster wax onto them. But I like to do that at the end once everything's kind of configured so that it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming. That's always something I recommend if you're going to add luster wax is if it's your first step, that's one thing, but if it's something you're adding on as a detail, I would I'd wait until the end to add it on.
Is this the pen you're using?
So the pen I'm using, this is a Jelly Roll pen. I think I got these on Amazon and it's a size 8, but they're by Sakura. Gel pens are really tricky. This seems to be the only one that I actually really like, but if you guys have other suggestions, I'm always happy to hear those because I'm always on the lookout for a good gel pen. So the next thing you're going to grab are these 2 sprig leaves. They're also from that same set, the Floral Crescent Moon, and that one, they also have some little emboss lines, so we'll just go in and add white on top of those emboss lines. And then you'll grab the 4 other leaves and do the same thing. So these 2 colors that we're using cardstock wise, these are agave and green tea. If you aren't familiar with Sizzix, we have a color story. So our color story is really fun. We have 20 base colors right now that we kind of work from. And they all have coordinating items, I guess. I'm trying to think, coordinating product. So we have this kind of paper, but then we also have sequins and beads that match. We have felt that matches. We have glitter and embossing powder. So it's kind of one-stop shopping, looking for coordinating items. I know sometimes it gets really frustrating when you're working on a project and you want something that color coordinates, and it's hard to find sometimes. So we have tried our best to create products that are at least complementary to one another tonally, and it makes everyone's life a little bit easier when you're working on a project. Yes, Michelle, you are correct. You do get it. That's just where I got it from, because unfortunately near me, I do not have a small craft store anymore. I'm so sad about it. I actually used to work at a small scrapbook store for like 7 years, and I miss it desperately. But yes, you always get your stuff at your local scrapbook store. Okay, so the next thing, that's all we're gonna add white gel to. So we're going to then I'm gonna start going in and sorry, my words are failing me this morning, y'all. We're going to start paper sculpting our flowers. There, I knew I'd get it eventually. So these 2 flowers, you're gonna take the texture side and you're gonna flip it upside down to the smooth side. I like to start by paper sculpting on the back side and then move to the front for anything that I want to add like an actual dimensional effect. So I'm going to take the smallest stylus tool I have in this paper sculpting kit, which is a 5mm. Really any size works. I just like using some of these smaller ones. And I'm just going to go in and just on the tips of the flowers, I'm going to push in to the foam. I'm going to do that on both of the pink flowers, large pink flowers. And just in case you guys want to know what these colors are, this one right here that I'm doing right now, this is Primrose. And this one right here is Ballet Slipper. So then when you're done on the back side, you're going to flip them over and you're going to take a larger stylus head. So this one you can use the 8mm, or you could go to the big boy, which is 10mm. And you're just going to go into the center of the flower and push down as lightly or as hard as you want, depending on how dimensional you want that flower to be. Okay, so that's it for those 2. So I'm going to set them off to the side. Then I'm going to grab my purple flowers. And again, I'm going to take the texture side of the flower. These are lavender dust cardstock. I'm going to take them and I'm going to flip them so that the texture side's facing down. And then with these, I'm going to take the smallest stylus tool again and just go along the heart shape, because that's what these petals look like to me. So I saw someone's asking about the paper weight on our papers. They are 80-pound paper. They're really nice, durable quality. I am really particular about cardstock, and I'm very happy with the weight of our cardstock. It's nice and durable, but it's not too thick that your die cuts won't die cut through it easily. And then I'm going to flip these over and just put into that center portion again. I'll stack these up and I'll move on to the next set. So I'm not going to really paper sculpt these ones too much. I'm just going to kind of lightly do the front. Nothing too crazy. Sometimes I like to keep some things a little flat. I don't like everything to be so dimensional, because I don't feel like that's always a natural thing. You always have textures in your bouquets, and I feel like texture in life is really important. So you want to have some stuff that's really dimensional, some stuff that's in the mid zone, some that's like in the light area. Just makes it feel more realistic. So now I'm going to paper sculpt the orange ones. I'm going to flip these ones over to the back side and start there. And I'm just going to go along the petals. I'm not going to go super crazy, because these are ones I want more like mid-tone. Okay. And then I'm going to flip them back over and go into the center. Okay, and that's it for those ones. And then the last ones are these little yellow ones. These remind me of daisies. I love these. And you'll notice that these are very different flower shapes. So that's something I like to show, is that you can mix and match your different die sets and the different flowers from each die set. You're only supposed to have 2 of the pink, but of the orange, you're supposed to have 4, Stacey. I just saw that comment. If you have more of the pink, then you've got more than you should. So with these yellow ones, you're just going to go right into the center on the front. And that's it for those. And I just saw Taylor commented on the paper sculpting kit. I will say, as a maker, this is my favorite tool that we carry. I'm not kidding when I say I use it every day. Granted, I use a lot of florals, but I use it I'm not kidding, I use the tools from it every single day because it's got tweezers and scissors. And also something, fun fact, most people don't know, on the 10 millimeter stylus head on the other end, we have this fun little paper quilling tool. I've been using these for any rosette type of flower. I realize I'm holding it too close. There we go. I've been using this for rosette flowers because I find that they actually are easier to assemble with those. So, fun little fact. And then in case you aren't familiar with the paper sculpting kit, you notice that it also comes with this green detailing pad. And this is to go along with this tool. So anytime you have leaves that you want to add the veins on, you're going to use this one, and then you're going to push in your veins and your small details with this particular tool head. So just little fun facts for you. Okay, so that's it for the paper sculpting. Can you guys all let me know pace-wise? Is everything, am I going too fast or am I going okay? I don't want to like rush anybody, but I just want to make sure we're doing okay. So if you can give me a indication of where we're at, that'd be awesome. So the next thing we're going to do is awesome, thank you. We're going to actually glue these flowers together in stacks. So we're going to create all of our flower stacks right now. And so I'm just going to kind of go in and start putting them together, and then we're going to set them off to the side, and we're going to start assembling the panel in which the jar dome is going to go on. Awesome, great. I'm glad to hear you guys think it's going good. So I'm going to start with my large pink flower, the primrose one, and I'm going to grab my white flower right here. And this I didn't paper sculpt. If you want to have it dimensional, you can just kind of quickly go in with your hand even and do that just to give it a little bit. But this one's going to go into the flower center right here, and then you're also going to want to grab one of these polka dotted flower centers. And we're going to adhere all three of those together. So this is where your tweezers might come in handy. I didn't see Cindy's tip. What was Cindy's tip, Taylor? Really? Is that true? That you rub it over your head first? I never heard that. I'm going to have to try that now, Cindy. That's very interesting. I've never heard that before. Okay, so if you're using our express glue, you really don't need a lot. I haven't used it in a little bit, so I got to open it up a little bit because I'm notorious for forgetting to put the cap back on. I'm sure I'm not the only culprit. So let me grab another one real quick. Who else is notorious for that? Like I always forget to put my cap back on my glues, and they dry out on me, and then I have to pin them open. Okay, now I got one that works. Okay, if you're using our express glue, you don't need a lot. It really, a little bit goes a long way with this. It is a fast drying glue, and it dries transparent, which is amazing because I know some glues kind of leave a little bit of a color behind. Okay, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue into the center for my flower center. And then I'm going to use my tweezers to put this guy on. It's stuck to my finger. Okay. then we'll set that off to the side and let it dry. The next one I'm going to tackle is the ballet slipper. Actually, this might be cherry blossom. They're so similar. I have a hard time telling sometimes. We're going to grab that. You're going to grab your white flower center and another one of the polka dot yellow flower centers. I'm like so interested in how the hair and the stylus is. That's so interesting to me. I've never heard that in all my years of paper crafting. That's amazing. See, this is why I love doing these events. People tell me this kind of information that I never would have probably learned before. Okay. Did I see someone said they lost their pair of scissors on Mount Fuji? I feel like I've heard that story before. Were you in this event last year? I love that. Someday I'll make it to Mount Fuji. Okay. For the orange flowers, you're going to take 2 of each and stack them on each other, but you're going to alternate the petals and layer them. And then you're going to want to grab one of the small yellow flower centers for each of the centers of those. So I'm going to play around with these however you like. There's no wrong or right way to do this. This is your project. It doesn't have to be exact like mine. You guys are a plethora of knowledge this morning. I am enjoying this comment section. If you see me like miss the flower, it's because I'm reading the comments. Okay, then I'm going to grab my 2 little yellow flower centers. One of which just got stuck underneath my maker's tape. So I know I mentioned earlier that I like to mix and match die sets. That's actually like one of my favorite things to do because I like to show how versatile our designs are. But I also I feel like that's such a natural part of life. One of my favorite things to do is to go to the flower markets and just buy a ton of flowers and make bouquets. And so obviously like we aren't really having events right now. So paper flowers have become my alternative to real life flowers for stuff like that. So I was like really inspired with this particular project because I miss actually making flower bouquets. So I was like, well, I'm going to make a paper flower bouquet then because I miss it so much. Okay, so I'm taking my 2 purple lavender dust ones and, ooh, a florist and a craft store? Hillary, where are you located? I might be popping around the country to different craft stores now. That's like my dream come true. When I was a kid, all I wanted to be was a florist and own a craft shop. So I'm glad someone's living out my dream. For this purple flower, you're in Florida. Crochet flowers and put them outside. Oh, I love that. Those are like true year-round flowers. Hillary, I'm there. Does anyone need me to like put the flowers in the that I've done in the camera shot so you can see how we're stacking them? Or is everyone able to see off of the project sheets? I'm just going to put them back in just to be safe. Like I said, you don't have to use all these flowers today. I just made enough so that it fills up and it's like an abundant bouquet. But if you're teaching, I used to work in a craft shop. I know kitting for workshops can take forever. And obviously when we kit for these kind of events, I know kitting takes a while. So don't feel the pressure ever to like make this many flowers for a workshop. I know that would be crazy. But you can definitely pick like 5 large flowers and put them on, or you could do like 3 large and 2 medium for a workshop event. I actually miss that so much. I miss teaching like workshops in person. But I find that sometimes, just especially if you want to hit that good medium between beginner and advanced, just having enough that someone who's a beginner doesn't feel overwhelmed and an advanced person can see where they can take it. I think that's a great happy medium for teaching. I'm obviously going more advanced because I know you guys are all consummate crafters. So for the yellow ones, you're going to take 2 and layer them up. You're going to alternate the petals again, and then they get a flower center, a brown flower center, which is our caramel toffee color. In case you're ever wondering how we came up with these names, the craft designers actually sat in a room for 3 days, or for 3 hours one day, and we threw around names until we came up with all 20 colors. Needless to say, we had some fun doing that. And you could tell on some of them we were clearly hungry. Okay, so we're almost there. We're getting there. And now it's just going to be down to assembly on this project. Just checking the time, making sure. Yep, I thought this would take us about an hour, so I was right. I started with the one that was going to take longer first, just so that we wouldn't be panicking at the end. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like crafting has been like this total Zen thing for me this year. Even though it's my job, like it's the first time in a long time where I've just felt very Zen about crafting. It brings a lot of peace to me. I hope it's bringing that to you guys today. Okay, so for the last one, which is this pink flower, I just took the 2 petals, or the 2 flowers, alternated the petals, and then I added in the caramel toffee polka dot flower center. I somehow managed to end up with an extra flower center, so if you end up with extras, happy making. I'm sorry, Paula. I hope we can send you anything that you guys are missing. Don't just let us know and we'll get it taken care of. Thanks, Hillary. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to pull it out while everyone's kind of still probably finishing up their flowers, so don't panic. I'm just grabbing my next pieces. So if you're at that stage and you're ready, you're going to grab your panel that you inked brown and then your blue inked jar, and you're going to grab the 5 flower stems. I have 5. So you've got 2 in a dark brown and then 3 in caramel toffee. The dark brown is actually from our neutral card set, so or cardstock pack, I should say. I don't have my craft mat with me, but typically what I would do to adhere these, they're very skinny, so obviously like adding glue to each of these would be such a pain. So I'm going to teach you guys a trick that Pete Hughes taught me on how to add glue if you want to use liquid adhesive. But another great tip would be to use adhesive sheets. The adhesive sheets on the back of any cardstock turns it into a sticker, and then it just makes it easier to put it down. But I wanted to show you guys this little trick with the glue and a pair of tweezers and how easy it kind of just makes it to do it. So obviously these are a lot longer than the jar dome. And because the domes need to have a clean surface all the way around, we're going to adhere these stems down where we want, and then we're going to trim the tops off. Because on the card itself, we're covering where the stems would come out with flowers. So I've actually trimmed all these so that they're not flying out, because in order for this to have a really nice seal, it has to be against a straight flat surface. So little note with that, if you're teaching this, you want to put these down first, cut off the excess, and then build your dimensional dome. So one tip that Pete has taught me, and normally I would do this on a craft mat, but because I'm doing this, I'm just going to do it on a piece of paper instead. You're going to, see, I always forget to put the cap on. There we go. You're just going to put a little glob of glue on your craft mat or your piece of paper, whatever you're working on. You don't need a lot. And then you're going to take your tweezers and place them on one end of your stem. And then you're just going to run it lightly through the glue. So I don't have glue coming out the sides. I just put on just enough so that it'll stick down. And then I'm going to put these down at like differing angles and heights. But I have no glue seeping out the side, which is great, but it's sticking. And even if you did have glue come out the side, like I said, this dries clear and transparent, and we're going to have sequins and beads on here. Or sequins and beads. So I'm going to do that with my other ones. Just going to lightly run it through the glob of glue. And then I'm going to just start layering these on in differing heights, differing angles, because that's what's natural in a... Someone just called me a clever lass, and what you don't know is I love that word. I love being called a lass. I think my grandparents are from Ireland, so like my grandpa always called me a lass. Okay, I'm having issues with my glue today. I don't know what's wrong. Add a little bit more to here. So I can't take credit for this tip. It's all Pete Hughes. He's a genius, and he taught me this, and I was like, what? I never thought to do that before. And Karen, that's a great idea. That's normally what I do too. The Xyron machine is fabulous. Xyron, adhesive sheets, liquid adhesive, whatever. I think everyone has their preference for adhesive. I think for me, it just depends on what I'm making. Like, do I have the patience to sit and wait for something to be dry? Like when I like doing really detailed projects. That's like my actual favorite thing to do. They take sometimes like 2 days to do. But I actually really enjoy those types of projects. Okay, so I've got all of mine down. And I'm going to grab my scissors from the kit, paper sculpting kit, or any scissors you have on hand. And I'm going to flip it over, and I'm literally just going to trim off the excess portions of the stems. And that's just so that when we put our dimensional dome down, that it will stick very nice and clean. So then you're going to bring in your panel that you inked. And one thing I'm going to suggest, every time you put down a dome, they have a little bit of an edge to them. So before you even glue your portion down that you're going to be putting the dome around, you want to first lay it out so that you can actually make sure that it's not going to go off the edge. So I just want to put mine as close to the bottom as I can. So that kind of gives me an idea of how far I have. So I've got about a 1/4 inch or so that I'm going to need to give that room. So that's always my first suggestion. Make sure before you put you glue the piece underneath down that you always make sure the dome's going to fit. And then I'm just going to take some liquid adhesive and put that around the edges and lay that back down. So I had about a 1/4 inch from the bottom, and I'm just going to center it on this panel. Now each of you got, or you should have got, a little baggie full of a variety of our sequins and beads. I didn't give you a lot because I don't like to overfill my shaker domes, because then you kind of sometimes miss what's actually in the shaker dome. But we did a mix of our bluebell and Arctic sky sequins and beads in here, and I want to show you real quick what those towers look like if you're not familiar with them. So like I mentioned our color story earlier, we have our 20 base colors, and from that we have, I think it's like 10 or 12 that are color match to our cardstock. So right now in my hand, I've got the sorbet, and I think this is limoncello. Yeah, limoncello. And so they come in towers like this, where you get a variety of like faceted circles, hearts, beads, like shimmery ones. Like there's stars in each of them. So you get a variety. We also have the metallics. So there's silver, gold, and rose gold as well. And then we also came out with the festive pack, so for the holidays. So these are great, like, because they're easy storage. They come with 5 different little pots in them, and you could throw the pots into like a mason jar if you wanted to, or you could keep them stacked like this. But there's lots of colors, and the 2 colors that we're using today are Bluebell and Arctic Sky. So what I like to do is I'm just gonna pour my beads from the baggie straight into the middle of this guy right here. Okay, so we'll make sure it's all, you've given yourself a clean edge all the way around, and then you're gonna actually put your dome on. So the nice thing about our dimensional domes is they come with this adhesive around the edge. So all you have to do is peel away this adhesive backing, which I'm gonna just take my tweezers and do that to get it going, like that. And you're just gonna peel that away. Now the trick when applying your dimensional domes is that you really want to make sure that you have a clean edge all the way around. So I'm going to stand up for a minute just so, I'm just going to stand up and put this overhead. Okay, and one trick I like to teach with these is to take your stylus tools and to go along the edge and really push in that adhesive. That means that you get a really nice, firm connection between the adhesive and whatever surface you're putting it on. Obviously with dimensional domes, I would not recommend trying to put these guys on top of anything embossed because they're just not gonna stick very well. And you'll end up with beads and sequins everywhere. So you wanna try a very smooth surface that it can adhere to. And then here's the real test, always. But they're in there nice and tight. So once you're done with that, we're gonna actually center and adhere this to the front of that embossed panel that you guys had done earlier where you added the luster wax. I always recommend doing this when you have things that are coming off the edge because then you will know where things need to be placed. But before we get to that, there's one more step. You're gonna have the jar border. So we cut this from one of our rose gold opulent cardstocks. If you're not familiar with the opulent cardstock packs, they come in 5 different colors. So we used rose gold today, which I'm gonna pull in real quick. And they come with 50 sheets in each pack. You get 5 different types of card. So there's glitter, a matte kind of look, brushed metal, pearl, and mirror. These, you can all die cut, you can die cut these, you can emboss some of these. They're really beautiful. I think these would be great when we can have like big weddings and stuff. Again, I think they'd be great for wedding stationery, but we actually really like using them just day to day in card making. They're gorgeous. So you get, like I said, you get all these different styles. So right now we are using the brushed metal of that particular cardstock. So the glitter does not come off, which is like my favorite part of it. It is embedded, and I like glitter, but I hate when glitter goes everywhere. So that's why I love that glitter cardstock. It stays on there, and I love that. So we're gonna, one thing I would recommend with these, if you're teaching these in a class, is just to put an adhesive backing on these. That way it's just easier and it's faster in your classes. We're just gonna add a little bit of liquid adhesive all the way around, and then we're gonna glue this around the jar dome. Okay, so just put that on real quick. And then you could also use your stylus tool again to just really get that to lay in. I'm not pushing down too hard because this particular type of cardstock is very sensitive to impressions. So for example, if you're die cutting with the brushed metal and stuff in the opulent packs, I would make sure that your top cutting pad is always maybe clean so that you don't get any kind of impressions into the opulent cardstocks. I love that. Sometimes you just pet them to grab them to pet them. So just in case you aren't familiar with the opulent cardstock packs, like I said, they come in 5 colors. There's gold, rose gold, silver, ivory, and charcoal, which is like a gray black tone. So you're gonna wanna grab a pair of scissors and some foam tape for this next part. I'm gonna flip over my dome and I'm just gonna add foam tape along the edges right here. I like when I'm putting stuff on top of embossed panels, I think it's easier to glue them down with foam tape than it is to put them down with liquid adhesive. Personally, that's just my preference. Obviously, if you have found a way to make them glue on easily with liquid adhesive, I want your tips and tricks, please. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that, and then I'm gonna just glue this into the center of this embossed panel. I'm reading your guys' comments. I feel like we're very, I feel like crafters are very tactile people. Like we need to actually feel and see things in person to commit to them. So that's why I try to explain things in that way so that people understand what it feels like. Okay, so I'm just gonna center this on here and then we'll start adhering our flowers. So one thing I did with the flowers, and I always recommend you do first, is lay them out how you kind of want them to look. So I'm just gonna kind of quickly lay these where I might want them to be. I like to do that first, and then I'll decide some of them I might want to have dimensional tape on them. Some I might want to just lay down with liquid adhesive. And it's okay if they go off the edge of the card. And then I'll go back in and I'll tuck in my greenery. So there's a few of these I'm gonna add some foam tape to the back side of. So I'm just gonna quickly cut some. I'm gonna do it on the small pink one. And I'm gonna do it on my 2 larger ones right here too. So just little pops of foam on the back of those, and then the rest I'll put down with liquid adhesive. And I personally tuck in my greenery as I go. Some people like to kind of know where they're going, but I will tuck it in before I glue something down so that I can just use the same glue. So I know I'm gonna do this one up here in the corner. I'm gonna definitely put that down with liquid adhesive. So I'm gonna start there. So like I said, a little bit goes a long way with these. You don't need a lot. I usually just put it in the center of the flower back. And then I'm gonna add 2 green leaves right here. If you want to give a little bit of dimension, I kind of do this with my leaves sometimes. I'll just take it right down the center of the leaf with a pair of tweezers and then just fold it in on itself just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm gonna add these guys up here. Oh, see what I said? Too much. So I'm gonna put some on here. Okay. How's everyone doing? Everyone still catching up? Anyone need me to repeat anything? And then I'm gonna glue this one down right here. actually put this guy in. I'm gonna add, so when I'm putting on leaves like this, I like my leaves to be dimensional. So I only put it towards the bottom third with liquid adhesive or whatever adhesive I'm using. That way I can make the rest of it dimensional and like feel more lifelike. So that's one trick I like to do when I'm putting on any type of leaf. That way it sticks, but it also has some mobility to it. Hillary, you're tempting me to a place where like I'll never come back to Sizzix. I'm sure my bosses wouldn't appreciate that. Flowers are my dream. Okay, so then we are going to do this. I'm going to just wrap these in a little bit. We're almost done with this one. The next one doesn't take as much time, so don't worry. We're going to definitely have time to finish both. This one just was a little more intense with all the flowers. The next one's actually a little messy, but it's fun. Okay. As you can see, I just build as I go. I'm not like, I'm one of those people that I just like to build scenes. I don't like to have necessarily like this ornate plan before I go in. I know not everyone's like that. I work with plenty of designers that like to have a plan like in place. I just have never been able to function like that. I just play with things organically as I go through and do them. Okay, I'm gonna add this on. And really the last thing after this is to just center and adhere this panel to your card front, which is in your kit. And then if you want to add in a little bit of luster wax onto the edges of these after the fact, you can do that as well. I can't get there we go. Okay. I'm gonna add this one on. Remember how I couldn't get my glue to come out earlier? Now I can't get it to stop flying out. So there should be 2 more pieces in your kits that you need to adhere onto your card. And it is this little label piece. This is part of the jar of flowers set and a little stitched heart. So both of those come with the jar of flowers die set. And I'm just going to add some foam tape onto the back of the label. And again, this is cut out of our rose gold brushed metal in the rose gold opulent cardstock. And I'm going to center that to the front of the dimensional dome and adhere that on the front. It didn't stand up, so if that's crooked, just don't tell me. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid adhesive on the back of this stitched heart, and I'm going to center that. I am going to hold that up a little bit so that it's not completely crooked. And I'm just going to glue that onto the front of the label. And then we provided you with a card front right here, and you're just going to center and adhere that on with some foam tape. So I'm just going to do that real quick, and then this project is done and we will move on to the next. If you have any questions about any of the product we used, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments. If you need me to repeat anything, I am happy to do so. And any questions that we didn't get to, I will be sure to go back after the live is done and make sure that they're all answered. my hands have so much adhesive on them that they're not like, I can't use them. This is why baby wipes are always on hand with me nearby. I'm a messy crafter. Oh, that's nice to hear, Alana. I always like when I finish a project. It makes me happy. Thank you, Scrappy Shack. If you guys are done putting this card together, if you want to get out your next kit, which is the metallic floral lattice card, you can kind of start pulling out your pieces for that. I'm just going to lay this down and then I will clear this out and we'll start on the next one. So if you want to, after the class, go back so you don't get like the luster wax all over your fingers. I'll show you what I did on this one. Is I just went in and added small little touches of the luster wax onto some of the flowers or like the centers of the flower center. So you can go back and do that later because I know we need to move on to our next project and I don't want your hands to get messy before we get on to the next project. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of clear things out. If you have questions while I'm cleaning up, just pop them in the comments and we'll get to them. Just going to move all this to the side.
Okay. Do you want me to take anything off?
If you can just help me push it over and then I will start pulling in this stuff because I don't think I need any of it. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, so if you're kind of getting prepped for the next one, I'm going to tell you what you need for that particular project as well. Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, so you're going to want to pull out this kit right here that came with it. If you have a funnel tray, I would recommend your funnel tray or a piece of white cardstock, not cardstock, but like computer paper. They will come in handy. You're also going to want to have some kind of like a stipple brush or like a hard brush. You can use your fingers too, but I just find that the product we're going to be working with works better with that. We sent you all 3 of our new metallic flakes. So you're going to want to pull out all 3. You don't have to use all 3, but we are going to work with all 3 if you choose to today. So those 3 colors. You're also going to want to have some liquid adhesive again and some foam tape and some type of a double-sided adhesive runner. So there's not a lot of tools on this one because we're doing more so of an effect. This is the project we're going to make. I know it looks very daunting, that background, but it's actually very simple, but it is very messy. So I'm just giving you guys that heads up. Working with metallic flakes ends up, you have a beautiful end result, but the process to get there can be quite messy. So one thing I've seen in my research for this is that some people have like a Tupperware container nearby that they then put the excess into, or in this case, like a funnel tray where you can like dump it back into another container, something like that. So we're just going to start with the messy bit first. We'll just get it out of the way. Everyone will be fine. And I will say that baby wipes are also come in handy when cleaning up these metallic flakes too. So from your kit, you're going to want to pull out this piece of white cardstock, and on one side of it has an adhesive sheet. And you're also going to want to pull out from your kit this floral lattice die cut from white. So when you're working with metallic flakes, you can work with adhesive sheets or you can work with an adhesive. We actually have a 3D adhesive that's coming out that works perfectly with these, but because of the nature of it needing to dry and have dry time, we couldn't do that for a workshop. So we're just going to work with an adhesive sheet today, but you can use our 3D adhesive with these decorative metallic flakes as well. So like I said, the metallic flakes come in 3 different colors. You're gonna lay this floral lattice piece over 1/2 of that adhesive sheet. You're not gonna need the whole adhesive sheet, so we actually have given you enough so that if you want to, you can make another card with it right here. So you have an extra piece of this. You're gonna want to take this floral adhesive, or not floral adhesive, the floral panel, and we're gonna place it onto the adhesive. So I'm gonna peel away the backing, and then I'm gonna center this on there. Sorry, I've got a piece coming off. And then we're gonna cut the excess away on the sides. So you're just gonna kind of lightly tap this down into place. You don't wanna get your fingers stuck in the adhesive, so just lightly tap it so that it sits on it. And then just take a pair of scissors and you're just gonna follow that edge and you're gonna trim off the excess. You can use a paper trimmer too if you want, but I find when I use my paper trimmer, it gets kind of gunked up when I do this, so I just prefer to use a pair of scissors. This way, when we're putting the metallic flakes on, it's not getting stuck on the side, so it just is a really nice clean effect. I'm like so concentrating on this. I hate when I accidentally like cut something at an angle that I didn't want to cut it at. Yes, Eileen, you can all be crafters. I started paper crafting when I was 10 years old. And then from 17 to 25, I worked in a scrapbook store. And then I stepped away from the industry for about 7 years, and I've been back in it for about 5. And let me tell you, when I say it was daunting coming back in because so much had changed. And within about 6 months, I felt like I could actually do this again. So Sue, because we were doing these in bulk, we actually used a Xyron machine to do the adhesive sheets for a workshop just because we needed to do so many. But if I were teaching this in a workshop, most workshops have like maybe 30 people, so I would use the 6x6 adhesive sheets that we carry. But because we were creating for 150 of you, we had to do something a little bit bigger. Okay, so now comes the messy bit. But it's also really fun and satisfying. So I'm going to put my thing into my funnel tray just so that it collects everything. And I'm going to take the lid off of all 3 of my metallic flakes. Our metallic flakes, these are the containers that they come in. We obviously, because they're samples, they don't have all of our brand and logo on them. But what I love about metallic flakes is because they can get so messy, it's like, where do I store these? The fact that they come in their own little self-contained storage is so nice. But another nice thing about this is that in each one, there's differing sizes of the actual flakes themselves. So you get some really large pieces, some really small pieces, whatever kind of like you're working with. But we're just going to literally take bits and start spreading them across wherever you want them to and like against that adhesive. Now, when I say you don't need a lot, I mean it. I'm going to probably put a little bit too much on just to kind of make everyone be able to see this, but you really like want to pull these apart. So see, that's a big piece. I'm going to want to split those up because I want to have like differing areas. And you're just going to take little pieces and just start to kind of put them over that adhesive sheet so it'll stick. And then we're going to burnish this in once we get enough on there. That's where the stipple brush comes really in handy because that hard brush really enables it to burnish well. If you don't have access to one, your fingers will work too. It just takes a little bit longer. So I'm all about sometimes the speed of things. Yes, do not sneeze into that bottle. But these are great to add on to like decorative home decor frames. I see these a lot of times now on place cards for weddings. they'll add just a little bit of a metallic effect at the bottom. So all you have to do is add like a liquid adhesive, let it get to a tacky point, and then you just add these onto them, and it turns out so beautiful. So I start to kind of lay them in so I can kind of see what I'm working with, and where I might want to add some more of a certain color. That's a great point, Sue. Like, if you even breathe on these normally, they just go flying everywhere. But because I'm actually wearing a mask right now, they're not going anywhere. Okay, I want a little more silver in this. Now, if you're teaching a workshop and you don't want to open all 3 of these, I think that's totally fine. You could just pick one color to work with, and just to get people like familiar with the product, make sure they like it. That way you're not having to go through too much product. Or you could, like Pete, this was another thing Pete had suggested, where you use all 3 colors together. And I was like, really? And then when I did it, it was so stunning that I was like, oh yeah, we're for sure doing this. So I actually think that's enough. It doesn't look like a lot, but once you start burnishing it in, you will see that it's in there. So I first go through and I just dab. That way everything kind of gets into the adhesive. And then I'll know if I have any holes very soon. Yes, so that's something I have seen, is people putting it in their in a leftover container. That's why I'm doing mine in a funnel tray. That way I can easily dump them back in. So once you've kind of dabbed it all in, then I go in a circular motion, and that's what starts to burnish it in. So you get that really nice kind of flat metallic background. Like I said, this is the messy portion, but it is so satisfying once it's done. If you're doing this on a piece of white cardstock, I forgot to mention this, and I'm very sorry, that you could fold up all 4 sides of the cardstock, and it creates its own little funnel tray if you don't have access to a funnel tray. So if you're ever teaching a workshop and you don't have enough funnel trays, that's something you can do. You can create your own little funnel trays with computer paper. One thing about this particular die that we're working with, it is actually a layering die. So it has a secondary piece that fits behind. I'm just using the top layer from this die, which that's what I forgot to show you guys, was the dies. So this is the dice that we're using right now. So I'm using the upper layer because it had more room for us to be able to put the metallic flakes on. But then the second layer is that shadow effect that you see below. So this is from Chapter 1 by Jessica Scott. It is the floral lattice. It is a nice card front size, as you'll see. And then I'll show you the other dies when we get to working with those. So then I just start tapping off so I can kind of see where I still need to work it in. I have another trick I'm going to show you guys. I just filmed a vlog the other day. It hasn't gone up yet, so you guys are getting a sneak peek of a different way you can use this die set too. I'll show that to you at the very end as well. I finished it yesterday, and I was like, this might be really fun to show the Notions crew. Okay, so I think I'm getting to a point where I'm happy with my background. Oh, I'm sorry, Vanessa. Hopefully it gets there soon, but you'll be able to access this video at any point and you can watch it. I hope you're just enjoying all the gab that we're having. Okay, so I'm happy with my background. You guys can keep working on yours. I'm gonna just start kind of clearing any of the excess out of the way so we can get to putting the rest of the card together. So I'm just going to put all of my pieces back on. Yes, so we just use, there's 2 layers in that die. There's the shadow layer, which has less open space. And then we just use the upper layer because it had more open space to work with. So that's why I wanted to work with that one. Just gave us more room to put down metallic flakes. Next goes on. Okay, so I'm going to move all this out of the way. Like I said, one thing I discovered when I was working with metallic flakes is baby wipes were a great way to clean it up. So I'm going to just take one out real quick and clean up my spot. I'm a messy crafter, but I like to have like a clean spot when I am starting to work on stuff again. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need from your kit is I am going to actually have you guys lay down it, the piece we just did on your card front. So you're going to pull out a piece of black cardstock that's folded in half for you already. And we're going to adhere that. So if you're going to use both layers, so one thing I recommend with, because I see this question, one thing I recommend when you are cutting an intricate die is the Chrome Precision base plate. I wouldn't use it initially. So when you first start to cut for like a class or workshop, let your die be, cut it until it doesn't start to cut. Then when it doesn't start to cut, then use your Chrome Precision base plate. So that's one tip first. Because when you're kitting for a workshop, obviously like the dies start to get they need a little extra help, especially those intricate ones. Or if immediately it's not cutting the way you want it to, then use your Chrome Precision base plate. But then I think with these in particular, adhesive sheets are a must. Anytime you're working with an intricate die that's in multiple layers, it's a must. So because we were adhering this to an adhesive backed piece of panel, then I didn't have to worry about putting it on the actual panel itself. And then you can just keep working with ease. I'm going to just take some double-sided tape and put this on the back of the white panel. That's hard to say, Sue. I think it really depends on how many you're cutting, what machine you're using, because some of the machines have more pressure than others. I would say at least, 75, which for these dies is pretty good for the intricate ones. You should be able to get quite a few out of them, but we cut, almost 200 with no problem on one die. Okay, so now I've got that laid down. The next thing you're going to grab from your kit is this little black panel right here. And we're going to put some adhesive, foam adhesive on the back of this. So this is where our sentiment's going to be. Don't take the adhesive backing off. And there is a reason for that. So you're just going to put your foam tape on, but leave the protective backing there for now. There's definitely a lot of different tools you can blend with. I haven't tried that with the blending tool. I'll have to try that. That's another great alternative. Okay, so the reason we didn't have you take the adhesive backing off is because we're going to kind of lay down our pieces, all of our die cut pieces. So the two, you'll see we have foliage and flowers. I'm using the, I want to make sure I get the name on this right. It's the flowers, or envelope with flowers. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Taylor. Flowers with envelope or envelope with flowers. It's one one of those variations. I always get it mixed up. I really liked this because it comes with this cute little envelope, which is just so sweet that you can actually like tuck a little note in on a card front, or you could have the flowers coming out of it. I decided I wanted to just use the components of this, so we're using the flowers and the foliage from this die set. So all of the pieces in your rest of your kit, we're just going to dump right out because we're going to put them all down. Be careful because there are two very small little dots, white and black, that you don't want to lose. And if you do, then you just might have to die cut one because I don't have any more that I can get to that easily. But what I like to do before I take the adhesive off on this is we're going to create these two sections in which that you can kind of add focal points. So in design, I like to kind of work in almost like a diagonal when I'm doing these kind of cards, because I still want pieces of my background to work. So I just chose to do kind of like a diagonal right here with my excess pieces so that the top and bottom would still show through. So what you're first going to do is take your pieces and kind of just lay them in where you want them to be. So you might have to trim some of these down with a pair of scissors, or if you want to leave them long and create different heights. I'm going to take my foliage pieces first and kind of put those down. Now, one thing I do want to point out, this is actually that we accidentally cut one of these in the wrong shape compared to the project sheet. So this guy right here out of the rose gold mat is actually supposed to be this style right here, but we realized it too late and we'd already started kidding. So I apologize for that, but just wanted to let you know that on your project sheet instructions that the rose gold one is actually cut from this shape right here. And speaking of the instructions, I wrote them so that they would be as if you were beginning them from scratch. So it's not taught from the kit, it's taught from as if you were going to be teaching the workshop yourself. So it's got everything in there, what size you cut it down to, how many you cut of everything. That way you can teach it from scratch, and that you have the PDF in the link to this particular live, and you'll be able to download that PDF and you can reuse it in your workshops. It's also got a supply list and a picture of the actual project sheet or project itself. So I'm just going to start kind of layering these in, figuring out how I want them to look. You're not going to put the flowers together until after this piece is already kind of all glued in. So once I figure out where I want this to be, then I start kind of just, I'll take some liquid adhesive and I'll just start gluing them in. Okay, so I know these are all going to go here. I'm going to kind of just cut off these bottom portions a little bit just because I don't want them sticking out underneath. So I know I'm going to put one up here kind of tall. With these, I like to just glue down the spine. Like I said, I like having the ability to pull my leaves up if I want. So I usually just adhere. There we go. Just a little bit down the spine. And I always leave the top portion free. That's just something I prefer to do because I like things to feel dimensional. Some people like their cards flat, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's times I do that as well. Is there an issue with the video? Oh, okay, it was weird on mine. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off these large, long pieces at the bottom. Sorry, my video cut out there for a minute, so I just wanted to make sure we were okay. So we're also using our charcoal opulent cardstock in these. So this is the glitter. So you guys, some of you were asking what the glitter's like. You have it in your hand. This is the charcoal glitter. This is what our glitter cardstock is like in each of the opulent cardstock packs. So you can see that you can cut it with Thinlits. I will say this, the more intricate the design, it is a little bit more difficult to cut on the glitter because it is a thicker kind of cardstock. So, thank you, Cheryl, for that update. But it is still, you still can cut it with a Thinlits die. I haven't had many massive problems with it. I just wanted to give you that heads up. Like if you're trying to cut like a super intricate die, it's probably not going to turn out the way you would want it to, but it still will cut Thinlits. Okay, so then I've got two I'm gonna do down below, so I'm gonna grab these. I'm actually gonna cut this one a little bit shorter because I don't want it to stick out too far. So I'm gonna have these here, and then I'm gonna take this flower and I'm gonna actually have that tuck out from underneath. So first I'm gonna lay this down. This is why I don't have you guys do the adhesive, so you can kind of get an idea of where you need to layer things in that tuck underneath. Okay, so I'm gonna glue these down real quick. If anyone's interested in seeing the charcoal or any of the other opulent card packs, I do have access to all of them right here at the workstation. So if you do want me to pull those out and show them to you so you can see the different textures, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments. And for those of you that have seen chapter 1, is there any die sets that you're really excited about? Because I'm always curious to hear like what shapes people like. Okay, it sounds like you guys all do want to see it, so I will pull out the cardstock real quick. Definitely not a rhetorical question. Okay, so I showed you the rose gold. So this is the charcoal paper. So again, you still get those 5 different types of cardstock. You get the glitter, the matte, the brushed metal, the pearl, and the mirror. And I'll just kind of fan these out so you can see them. They're really, honestly, so stunning. And these are such a hot commodity. We have a really hard time keeping them in stock. So definitely check with your Notions rep if you want to order those. Then we have our silver. The silver has the same 5. I'm going to take them out of the package real quick. Has the same kind of 5, glitter, matte, brush metal, pearl, and mirror. And I'll fan those so you can see these. So especially with the mirror and the brush metal, when you're die cutting with those, those are the ones you want to make sure you have the clear cutting pad on top because they're very sensitive so you can get impressions in them easily. So if you're die cutting, you definitely want to have a clean cutting pad on top. That's just my trick of the trade with that one. This is the gold. So again, you get the same 5. And I'll just fan these out so you can see them. I just think these would look so stunning for like New Year's Eve, wedding, Mother's Day, baptisms, first communions, all that good stuff. And then the last one is ivory. So this one isn't exactly like a stark white. It's definitely an ivory, but it's pretty close to white. So there's this one. So this one has one that's a little bit different than the other ones. This one has one called Soft Touch, and it's, I don't know how to describe it. It almost feels like a very soft velvet to the touch. But it does have the rest of them that are similar. So the mirror, the glitter, the brushed metal, or the brushed pearl, and the pearl. The glitter on this one's a little bit more chunky and not as fine as the other ones, but it still is not one that will come off. So that's it for these ones. There's also opulent cardstock in our festive colors. I don't have that at hand, but those ones come in like pinks, or not pinks, but in reds and greens, and same kind of, I guess, textures. So there's like the glitter, the brushed metal. So you get similar kind of styles, but just in holiday festive colors. Okay, so I'm going to get back to making. But if there's any other product you guys want to see, just let me know. Okay, so after that's all done, now once you've got all these on there, you can add in, you can glue this on. So that's what I'm going to do. I will say, like, for that opulent cardstock, I can barely get it ordered in for the stuff I need to do for my job. So it's very, very popular. And it's a nice value. You get, I think it's 10 sheets of each style. So it's not like you're only getting a couple sheets of each one. There's 5 different textures and you get 10 of each. So you really can get a lot, especially if you're kitting for a workshop. You can really get a lot out of one pack. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put together these flowers. I see my video went out again on my end. Okay. Just on my computer then. I don't have, is there a rooster here? We definitely don't have one. I wonder where you're hearing it. Oh, for you. It's really early in the morning for me still. I love that the girls in the other room had to be like, no, Alexis, she's talking about Oh, Cheryl, just ignore me. Okay, so you've got 4 of these rose gold flowers, and you're going to add them 2 at a time. So you're going to have that again where you just kind of lay them down and alternate the petals. So you'll do that with both of those rose gold flowers. I'm not going to paper sculpt these because with this particular texture, I really don't think that it would look very nice. I think it would actually damage the paper. So you could try it. I haven't found great success with it myself, but it's worth a shot. If you come up with it, let me know. Okay, so you also in your kit's got these 2 smaller flowers, one in the charcoal glitter and one in the rose gold pearl, and you'll just put one of those in the center of each of those flower stacks. You also got, I don't think I put enough glue on this one. Hold on. I knew that before I even set it down. Okay. You also got these 2 very small spiky flower centers. And I'm going to put the black one on the charcoal, and I'm going to put the white one on the rose gold pearl. You can always tell when I'm doing detailed work because I get very quiet. And then, like I said, you've got these 2 very small dots. They might, if you don't see them, they're probably stuck inside your bag. But for these, I'm just gonna put the little glue, pop a little glue into the center of each flower and then use my tweezers to put it on. One trick sometimes I do is with a die pick or with tweezers is I'll dip it into the glue and then I'll use that to pick it up. Okay, so those are both my flowers. Now, before you glue the flowers onto the, sorry, my video keeps going out, so I just want to make sure everyone can see. Before you glue the flowers down, I like to just lay them in, but you should have, from our script sentiments die set, we cut the words with love. They're adhesive backed, so you'll just need to kind of peel them off and stick them on. But I wanted to show you the script sentiments real quick. You get happy birthday, happy anniversary, congratulations, with love. These are very intricate and cursive, so I would always recommend when you're cutting out something like this that you use adhesive sheets. It just makes your life so much easier when you're putting them down. So I'm just going to take and peel off my with love, and I'm just going to peel away any of the chads that are still kind of stuck inside, and I'm going to lightly place it down just to kind of get an idea of where I want it to be. These are where your die picks come in handy if you've got one, or I'm just using my tweezers to punch out any that didn't want to come out immediately. So I'm just going to lay that down first, and then I just lightly place it too so I can make sure I like the light where it's at, and then I'll push that down into place. And then with these, I'm only going to put adhesive on the bottom half. I keep grabbing the wrong glue bottle. I'm just going to put adhesive on the bottom half of this because it's going to kind of go off the edge of this panel. So I'm only going to put it on the half where it's on the panel. And you're just going to put both of those down and your cards will be done. And we did it. We did both projects in 2 hours. I'm really proud of y'all. That's that. Let me pull it up so you can get a closer look at them. So that's both of our projects that we have created. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, we've got our whole sales team, it looks like, pretty much on here. So please feel free to ask questions. We will go back in and we'll be checking them. I have had so much fun. I'm going to actually turn this around so I can see you all again real quick. So hold on one second. Take my mask off. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoy all of our new Chapter 1 products. The effects range isn't quite out yet, so you're getting a sneak peek on some of the products, but if you have questions about any of the effects line, please let your Notions people know, let our sales people know. We will definitely have more content and tutorials coming up in coming months to show you guys how to use all of these new products in different ways. I am so thankful for each of you for showing up today and for being a part of Sizzix and for Notions hosting this event. Thank you so much. We definitely have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed listening to all your guys, well, not listening because I can't hear them, but seeing all your guys' comments, and I'm definitely going to go back afterwards and I'll respond to things. But I just really appreciate you all. I know 2020 was hard, and I'm really hopeful for 2021 that we just get to have fun and be more crafty, and I'm so thankful for these virtual events that we can do this. So I'm wishing you all a great rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we will hopefully see you all in person again sometime this year. Okay, everyone have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.